Now, sometimes it's as a result of misidentification. However, the woman wrongly believes that the man is the father of the child and then makes him take responsibility for the maintenance of the child. Sometimes it could be as a result of outright fraud. That means you know that he's not the father of the child, but then you made him take responsibility for the maintenance of the child. Most times here in Africa, of course, in Nigeria especially, there's a belief that every woman knows the father of her child. You know,
Has that been substantiated? I don't know why they know that.
So misidentification might not likely work for us. That is perhaps if in the future we are able to identify this paternity fraud as an offense in Nigeria or some form of illegal act in Nigeria, and then start civil proceeding or criminal proceeding, as the case may be, as it affects the society. But then that's not to say that it's not happening. It's really, really, really happening. It's actually happening on daily basis, I would say. A lot of people wake up and they want to know if they're the father of someone. They want to believe that, they've taken responsibility for a child that is not theirs without knowing or having the knowledge to do so. Now, for the I made a research, and then I realized that jurisdictions like developed countries have recognized this paternity fraud, and then to an extent they have laws that guide them, and then it varies from one country to another. However, that's because they have a key to the maintenance of the children in the country. Like they are very interested in the social welfare of children in those countries. I wouldn't say same for Nigeria because we have social welfare centers, we have certain facilities, but then maintenance has been a problem, and even the financing of such facilities to ensure that children are well taken care of, even if our provisions like our legislations, especially as it concerns children, tells us that the interests of the children is paramount in our hearts, especially in this country. But then the effect for child maintenance in Nigeria is very, very poor. So in such developed countries where it's very effective, the issue of paternity is very important. Sometimes they might even need certain documentations like the birth certificate or some form of a scientific test to ascertain that the child's father is in view before they can enforce the maintenance, child maintenance, especially for that child. However, in Nigeria, unfortunately, we don't recognize paternity fraud, and then there's not been any case in the court of law to
by that
record.
You mean it's not seen as a fraudulent act?
No, it's not. There's no case at all that had seen the issue of a woman claiming that someone else is the father of her child and making him pay maintenance. There's not been any case like that come up in our courts records as, paternity fraud. As far as paternity fraud is concerned, that's
even though it's happening.
Of course, it's happening now. It's happening on daily basis. But then we have the provisions of the Act that has recognized scientific tests and all scientific tests that has to do with, let's say, blood and then paternity tests, especially where there are cases persons had gone to the courts in the civil proceeding to apply to the courts to determine their paternity or maternity of a particular child. I must state that in those jurisdictions where they recognize the issues of paternity fraud, some of them had tagged it as a criminal offense. However, the party involved, that's the woman, might not be convicted because her existence is very important, especially as to the interests of the child. They might just award claims to the party who is successful in the suit. For instance, if the man has sued, for the issue of paternity fraud, if he has sued and then the woman is found guilty, most times she might be made to pay the claims he had come to court with. Sometimes it's the ability to pay those claims is usually very slim because, of course, the woman might not be able to pay all of it, accumulating from the maintenance, that the man had done from when the child is born. So it's quite difficult. And then I must say that in Nigeria, of course, now an African society, before the advent of the Child Rights Act, there were a lot of practices that, in fact, some of them are still in view, that had made it difficult for any issue of paternity to come up at all. For instance, like I was trying to tell you before we came on air, there were traditions where if a woman had lived with her father and her mother, and then she's the only child, if her father dies, she would have to stay back in her father's house and conceive, so that the child can bear the father's name. And then
conceived by who?
It's I don't know who exactly.
Anybody.
It would be anybody, of course, now, because the essence of this was to maintain the father's name, and then to succeed
will the person
her father,
do that?
because there's no son.
Will the person do that willingly, knowing that?
Why not? Why not? And then the person won't have any attachment to that existing child.
That's the point.
And then there were certain traditions and custom that had to do with a woman who has been married, and then if she has divorced her husband and then gone to another man's place, if her bride price is not returned, automatically whatever child she's having with her new husband, it's said to be the children of the other man. And it was just normal. It was understandable, However, the Child Rights Act, of course, had come to specifically state that, scientific test is possible, especially when it has to do with a child, not an adult. I must state that the court is not empowered to give an order for an adult paternity test to be effected at all, because that will amount to the breach of its fundamental human rights.
Can you explain that in simpler terms?
Exactly. If a person, for instance, myself, if I was state that a particular person with a higher status is my father, and I want the paternity test between I and that person, if I make an application to the court for the court to give directives for such a person to come in view and enable us to do any form of scientific tests, usually a paternity test, the person must be willing to want to do so. The court cannot compel the person to do so, because that will be in violation of the person's right to privacy and right to integrity.
That is the supposed father.
The supposed father.
So what if it's the other way around? It is the father who wants
and then the
to
adult
find
child.
out. Yeah,
exactly.
That adult
same.
person is
It's
his
same
child.
as long as an adult is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah. But then for the child, the finding out of a child's paternity, it's for the interest of the child. It's for the best interest of the child. However, the Child Rights Act had provided for that, especially in civil proceeding. But then it has to come as a form of directives from the courts. And then the person asserting that, he's the father of the child would have to make an application to the court that must be granted before they can proceed for a paternity test. So that is the situation of paternity fraud. Except you have further questions to ask.
Okay. Let's see. We'll go on a break at this point. We'll come back and see if there are more questions. And if you, listening to us right now, do have a question to ask in this regard. Remember, it's Probono Chambers, so you can ask any other legal matter question, and that will be entertained right here on the program. But it is going to happen after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome on board to the Human Rights Radio.
Redefining broadcasting.
Ana shawartar mazauna birnin tarayya da su kasance masu mayar da hankali kan abubuwa da suka shafi tsaron kawunansu, a kuma kiyaye fita cikin dare barkatai, bugu da ƙari, mu kuma kasance masu saka idanuwa kan rayuwar 'ya'yanmu, musamman kan abubuwa da suka shafi shaye-shaye. Mu kiyaye ɗaukan mutane barkatai akan hanya, don hakan kan sawa ki rasa ko ka rasa motarka. Mu kiyaye aje abubuwa masu amfani a cikin motocinmu yayin da muka faka motocin. Sa'annan mu ɗaga gilasan motocinmu, sannan mu kulle ƙofofinsu da kyau don gudun fadawa cikin hannun ɓata gari. Mu dinga kulle ƙofofin gidajenmu da wundunansu da kyau, sa'annan mu kasance masu kulle makarin gidanmu kafin mu fita don ƙauracewa azzalumai 'yan sani. Wannan saƙo ne daga sashin tattara bayanai da sanarwa ta birnin tarayya FCTA.
àwọn olùgbé FCT nímọ̀ràn láti máa fura dáadáa kí wọ́n lè máa gbé láì léwu. Ẹ má jáde alẹ́, ẹ má lóògùn nílòkulò, ẹ máa fojú sáwọn ọmọ yín lóòrèkóòrè. Ní gbogbo ìgbà ẹ rí i pé kọ́kọ́rọ́ ìdáàbòbò ọkọ̀ yín wà ní títì gbẹngbẹng. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá sì fẹ́ jáde alẹ́, ẹ rí i pé ẹ ti fèrèsé ọkọ̀ yín dáadáa. Ẹ má gbàgbé àwọn nǹkan tó níye lórí sínú ọkọ̀ yín àgàgà. Láwùjọ ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ èèyàn kó má bàa fa ọgbọ̀n jálẹ̀kùn. Ẹ rí i dájú pé àwọn ilẹ̀kùn àti fèrèsé ilé yín wà ní títì pa nígbà gbogbo kọ́dàrán ọmọ bá láǹfààní àti wọlé o. FCTA Information Department ló mú ìkéde yìí wá sétí gbọ́ yín. Dem don advise FCT people make dem dey vigilant for safety matter o. No dey go out for night. No abuse drug. Monitor your pikin dem well. Make sure say your motor security dey kampe. If you wan comot for night for jolly, make sure say you no leave better thing wey get value for inside your motor, especially anywhere plenty people dey. Make you no attract bad people there. Make una close your house doors plus including window every time. Make criminal for no enter. This message na from FCTA Information Department.
Ndị ọma na-ege ntị, ana m asị udo dịrị unu. A na-eme ka onye ọbụla mara na ọ na-adị mma ike nkwụcha, wee na-asị onye ọbụla gbaa mbọ tinyere ụmụaka ya anya, mara ka nwa gị si eje, mara ka nwa gị si anata. Onye tinyekwa n'aka n'ịnwe ọgwụ na-ekwesị ekwesị ma ise nke osise, maka na ọ na-emebi ndụ mmadụ. A na-eme ka ị mara na ịpụ n'abalị na-ekwesị ekwesị adịrọ mma. Ị ga-apụgodo n'abalị, a na-eme ka ị mara na ọ dị mma ịkpọchisi ụgbọala gị ike. Ekwekwana ka ihe bara uru dị n'ụgbọala gị maọbụ n'efifie maọbụ n'abalị, maka na ife ọbụla bara uru dị n'ụgbọala ọ na-ebute anya ndị omekome. A na-eme ka ị mara na ọ bụrụ na ị nọrọ na be gị ma ọ na ị na-apụ apụ, fie isaa n'anya ka ị mara na ụzọ be gị na mpio be gị na ịkpọchisiri ha nke ọma maka ndị omekome. Wee na-asị atụọrọ ọmara ihe mana atụọrọ ofeke ofenye isi n'ọhịa. Ozi a sitere n'aka ngalaba ịgbasa ozi ọma FCTA wee na-erute unu ntị.
Magbaga ìfilẹ̀ Abuja kìsìdẹ́yìn àgẹ̀ṣẹ́wọ́lágẹ̀ ìlàrógùn àzín yakẹ́yìn nábẹ́nukọ́yìn ńbàtàtẹ́sílẹ̀yìn yìtẹ́sísẹ́lábà ńsúkọ́yìn yìtẹ́sán ayásẹ́sẹ́ yìtẹ́ ìmẹ̀sígbẹ́nukọ́yìn yìṣe yìkáyàbíwẹ́ nsàhásàhẹ́yì ẹ̀hẹ̀yẹ̀dẹ́yìn lọ àṣẹ àkọ́gùdẹ̀dẹ̀ nsàhásàhẹ́yì ẹ̀hẹ̀bàbíyànù ńsúkọ́yìn ẹ̀yìnlẹ́nà zàbọ̀yẹ kẹfàyẹ́mọ́nà ìgbọ̀n ẹ̀yẹ̀dẹ́yìn yẹkọ̀ṣù kọ́ àgbẹ̀nsánú kọ́ ìgbẹ̀chẹ̀ yìṣe àkọ́bàgù rẹ́ẹ́nàbì nsàhásàhẹ́yì ńnà vìtàbù àbábalẹ́fìn yẹ̀bẹ̀dẹ́ kọ́yìn kọ̀kún Abuja kìzẹ́dná àrídìnàbọ̀kùnù.
The whole of Africa, come along with me, let me unveil the face of night.
Residents of the FCT are advised to be more security conscious so as to keep safe, avoid late-night outings, and always ensure you have your car security locks on and wind up windows if you have to go out at night. Be careful who you give lifts to avoid car snatching. Never leave valuables in your car, especially in public places, as these will attract burglars. The general public is also advised to abstain from drug abuse, as this can lead to more crimes in the society. Always keep an eye on your children. Ensure that your house doors and gates are locked at all times to prevent intruders from gaining access to your home. Know your neighbor. If you see something, say something. Stay safe, stay alive. This message is from the Information Department, FCTA.
Making the world a better place every day. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Join our diverse team of legal experts as we provide education and guidance to you, our listeners, on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Probono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
10:27 a.m. is the time, and this is still Probono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. My name is Ruth, and I have been speaking with our in-house barrister, Adana. And today we're looking at paternity fraud in Nigeria, which she says, according to the law, is non-existent, even though it's happening. So you wonder how you're going to marry the two, but then we understand what that means, yeah? It happens, but then it has not been put together.
There are no reported cases, There are no reported cases of paternity fraud. There's not been any matter.
So we'll find out now, why is that so? Why is it difficult to, well, is it difficulty or challenges? What is the constraint when it comes to identifying
paternity fraud? Yeah. Okay, understandably, I think the challenge is it's as a result of our culture, religion, and some other social cultural practices. That's because we're very emotional towards ourselves and situations. We tend to bring religion and culture into such happenings, and then when you see situations where there's an issue of paternity fraud, everybody trying to do everything to the best interest of the child might just ignore the part of the fraud and want to bring the intervention of either a religious leader or a cultural leader, like an elder in the society, just to protect either the reputation of the parties, the party alleging and the party who it's usually, most times, the mother who is the person alleged, and then the child. They want to preserve the child's reputation. They want to protect the child. In fact, they want the family name to be protected to that extent. So that's why, the cases of paternity fraud have not even been recognized, talk more of being practiced in Nigeria, this country.
So one can go scot-free in Nigeria, as far as the law is concerned, yeah? Yeah, like you can go scot-free for maybe deceiving a man, for instance, 20 years down the road, and then he realizes that that child he's been calling his child is not his, and there's like nothing he can do to maybe sue you, take you to court, and have you, that's what you're saying.
Well,
you can't take it to the court as a case.
You can't tag it as paternity fraud.
Then how will you tag it? Paternity deception.
You might not tag it as paternity fraud. It might be fraud, but you can't tag it as paternity fraud. Whatever the situation is, there must be a need for evidence to be established, in order to tag it.
What would be the evidence?
As that evidences could include the financial support that you've actually given to that person after a paternity test or any scientific test has been made to determine that you are actually not the father to that child. Other evidences you have to show is that, of course, you have from time to time taken care of this child. You've assumed your responsibility in the place of the father. You've paid fees. You've taken a marriage.
The number one you actually have, because I think that should.
That would be different if that could apply if you married such person based on the fact that she had made you believe she was pregnant for you, that you found out that the child wasn't yours. But then in our society, you hardly would find a man who would not want to assume responsibility or take a child as his. It is only in the cases of trying to prove infidelity that people might want to go for a paternity test. But outside that, for the interest of the child, in our society, people would hardly want to go to determine the paternity of a child, so except in the case of infidelity.
So when you have that, you just keep quiet with the data, say it's better I don't even get to the
sometimes you find a case where parties want to dissolve their marriages and then they get to the courts, and in trying to do so, the man might want in fact, when the man is alleging or either of the parties alleging for the issue of infidelity, especially the man, he might want a paternity test on the children. Now, that is not to say that he's doing that for him not to continue maintenance or take responsibility for the children. Most times they do that is for them to, give a proof because the onus is on you. You are trying to prove to a good extent that you don't want to harbor this woman under your roof. So to prove that there was a case of infidelity other than for the welfare of the child. Now, sometimes persons might even, for instance, in the developed countries where paternity fraud is even recognized, persons who go to courts for determination of their paternity, especially as to the child, might, after the court maybe had given judgment and all that, they might still be mandated to continue with taking care of the child. That's because for every jurisdiction, the most paramount interest is for the benefit of the child. Yeah.
So even if you find
especially
out
when the
that
person can afford it, yeah.
you find out the child is not yours, you'll still be mandated to.
You'll be mandated to take care of the child, except where, of course, you can't afford it.
But usually, I mean, especially if they've spent quite some years with those children,
exactly. So it's quite difficult. Yeah, exactly. So it's not in our culture, it's not in our habits to want to deny taking care of a child or deny being responsible for a child, regardless of the circumstances. So I think that is why the issue of paternity fraud might not ever be a case in Nigeria.
Never.
But then it might be, considering that, from time to time, there are changes in our society, evolving with the changes in, and then changes in laws as well, to suit the changes in the society from time to time.
Current needs. Okay. That's it, Pro Bono Chambers, this morning on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Put your call through to us at this point. We are ready to entertain your calls on this particular topic or any other legal matter issue that may be bothering you. This is the right place for you to be. It's Pro Bono Chambers, where we provide you with free legal advice. The number to call is 080-3322-1149. That is 3322-1149. Call us up right now and let's hear what your question is on any of the legal matters you may currently be going through. Hello, good morning. Hello? Okay, can you hear me? All right. I cannot hear you, but it's moving, so... Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. I think that call must have ended at some point. Feel free to call right back. It's 080-3322-1149. Call us up and let's hear your question or contribution or anything at all that you want to say in connection to our conversation this morning. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Yusuf.
Okay, Yusuf, we're listening.
I want to ask a question, please.
Okay.
I want us to advise on the area of speak on the area of infidelity. And it happens in a situation whereby the father of the children is with the children, and the woman is trying to take the children back. So what is our advice on that area?
I'm not sure you understand. Do you understand?
No.
What really do you mean?
Yeah, if a woman is caught in the house of infidelity,
Yes.
and the woman was sent out of the house,
Okay.
then the children is now, the father of the children is now holding the children. So what happened to that? When the woman is trying to take an illegal step.
You're wondering what will happen to the children. The father is not taking care of them.
I'm not talking about the children. She should advise on that area.
Okay.
Is it right for the children to go back to the mother, or the father should just go out with the children?
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I think I understand now. All right. The advice is this. Yes. No matter the circumstances of the dissolution of marriage, except where either of the parents have mental disability that could outrightly affect the safety of the child. Usually, in cases like this, especially the one you mentioned of infidelity, the parents are still both responsible for the children. If the children are not adults yet, it's always good for them to be in the hands of the mother, except where the father proves that the mother is not capable and has some mental defects or is unfit mentally to take care of the children, you know, that could affect their safety. If the father proves that, then the court might likely not give a judgment for the parents, the mother, to assume responsibility or for the children to be in the custody of the mother. However, the both parents have a right to the custody of the children regardless of the circumstances. Yeah. So if the children are below the ages of 18, they are children, you know, they are very young. They are usually with the mother so that she can take care of them, except where you prove otherwise. Yeah. But then the father will still have access to the children because the law is for the interest of the children, you know, regardless of the circumstances that led to the parents dissolving their marriage.
All right. I hope that answers your question. Hello?
Hello, ma'am. Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Am I speaking with Probono Chamber?
Yes,
you are.
Probono Chamber.
Yes, you are.
Okay, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am, I have an issue with my landlord.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Faith.
Okay, Faith, go ahead.
Calling from Guarimpa.
Okay.
So, 4 days later, before my house rent will be expired, he gave me quick notice that I should pack out. So, I stayed for 3 months. And there is this attachment picture that I did. So I passed out 3 months later. So he was asking me to pay the 3 months before I remove my voucher. So I'm asking, is it right for me to pay for the 3 months I stay before I remove what I attached to the house, or how?
Okay, this is my advice for you.
Because I see it that it's not right for me to pay for the 3 months because he was the one that gave me the quick notice.
It's okay, no problem. So if you've been given a quick notice, yeah? 4
Hello,
days.
ma'am.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you were given a quick notice 4 days before the expiration of your rent.